You believed love was supposed to feel secure. You thought that if you stayed consistent, cared deeply, and kept showing up, eventually they would feel safe enough to let you in. Instead, you were met with silence, distance, and emotional withdrawal. While you were questioning yourself and wondering what you had done wrong, they seemed completely unaffected by your pain. But stop for a moment, because understanding this can completely change the way you approach an avoidant. Most people assume the answer is to become more patient, more available, more understanding, or more persistent. But that often does the opposite of what you want. It can cost you your peace, your confidence, and your emotional stability while pushing the other person even further away.
If you have ever loved someone who seems to disappear whenever the relationship starts becoming emotionally real, comment the word mirror. Just that one word. Because by the end of this, you will understand why becoming a mirror is so important in dealing with avoidant behavior. Here is what people often misunderstand. An avoidant person is not necessarily cold or incapable of feeling love. Beneath the distance, there can be a powerful fear of what emotional closeness demands from them. Over time, that fear creates an elaborate defense system. Its purpose is simple: create distance before vulnerability becomes dangerous. They may pull away, become difficult to read, or make you feel rejected and confused. Then you may either chase them or eventually walk away. And either outcome can reinforce what they already believe. If you chase, they feel overwhelmed and use that pressure as proof that closeness is suffocating. If you leave, they can tell themselves that opening up was never safe in the first place. Without realizing it, you may have been participating in this cycle for a long time. But here is where everything changes. You cannot destroy an emotional wall by hitting it harder. You make the wall less necessary. Avoidant people often build their identity around independence. Somewhere deep inside, the belief can sound like this: I am okay on my own. I do not need anyone. Depending on someone gives them power. And if someone has power over me, eventually they will abandon me, control me, or overwhelm me. That belief can become both their protection and their prison.
And every time you chase, plead, overextend yourself, or desperately try to prove how much you care, you may unintentionally strengthen that belief. You become evidence for the story they already carry. That intimacy creates pressure, love demands sacrifice, and emotional connection eventually costs them their freedom. So, if you genuinely want to reach an avoidant, stop giving their fear more evidence. Instead, become something their nervous system may not be familiar with: warmth without pressure, closeness without desperation, and presence without losing yourself. The difficult part is that your instincts may tell you to do the exact opposite. You may want to text again, explain yourself one more time, fix the misunderstanding, or convince them that you are not going anywhere. But that anxious reaction can keep the cycle alive.
And let me clarify something important. Giving an avoidant space does not mean becoming cold or pretending you do not care. That simply creates another avoidant dynamic. Two people withdrawing from each other are not creating intimacy. They are competing over who can appear less invested. Real emotional strength is different. Before you send another message, have another conversation, or try another strategy, regulate yourself. Get yourself out of panic first. When you are overwhelmed and reactive, the other person's nervous system can sense that emotional intensity. Their withdrawal then makes you even more anxious, and your anxiety makes them withdraw further. It becomes a loop. Your panic creates their distance. Their distance creates more panic. Someone has to change the pattern, and the change begins with you regulating your own response. That does not mean pretending you are fine. It means learning how to experience discomfort without allowing it to control your behavior. It means communicating your needs without turning them into accusations.
It means remaining emotionally present without becoming dependent on their every response. And yes, you may think, why should I have to do all this when they are the one pulling away? That feeling is completely understandable. But you are not doing this to rescue them. You are doing it to reclaim yourself. The strongest version of you is not the person who desperately needs the avoidant to stay. It is the person who can genuinely say, I want you in my life, but I will still be okay if you choose not to be. That difference matters enormously. So what does this actually look like? Start by eliminating the need to over-explain everything. Anxious partners often send enormous messages trying to make themselves understood. They explain their feelings from every possible angle. They defend their intentions, repeat their needs, and try to convince the avoidant that they are safe. But too much emotional information can overwhelm someone who already struggles with closeness. They may need time to process what they feel. Meanwhile, you interpret their silence as rejection and send even more messages. And the cycle gets stronger. Instead, learn to communicate clearly and briefly. There is a huge difference between saying, I cannot believe you do not care about how much you are hurting me, and saying, I need honesty from you about where we stand. The first can feel emotionally overwhelming. The second communicates the same need with stability and confidence. Next, learn to let silence exist. For someone with avoidant tendencies, solitude can be a way of processing emotions and returning to a sense of control. When you immediately fill every quiet moment with messages, questions, or reassurance seeking, you may remove the space they need to regulate. So when they become quiet, do not automatically chase. Return to your own world. Spend time with people you care about. Work toward your goals. Take care of your responsibilities. Enjoy your interests. Build a life that does not revolve around whether they text you back. This is not a manipulation tactic, it is emotional independence. And ironically, that independence can change the entire dynamic. When an avoidant sees that your happiness does not depend on their constant attention, the emotional pressure can decrease. You are no longer communicating, I need you to make me feel okay. You are communicating, I choose you, but I do not need to abandon myself to have you. For an avoidant, that distinction can be enormous. Need can feel like a cage. Choice feels like freedom. And emotional closeness becomes much easier when it feels like an invitation rather than an obligation. That is why you may notice an avoidant becoming more curious when you stop chasing. The moment you stop monitoring their every move, they may suddenly reach out. When you become genuinely comfortable living without them, they may begin moving toward you again. People often call this a game, but it is not necessarily a game. It is attachment dynamics unfolding in real time. When you step back, something interesting can happen inside an avoidant person. Beneath all that emotional armor, there can be a very anxious fear of abandonment. The distance is not who they are at their core. It is protection built around what they are afraid of feeling. So when you stop chasing, a quiet fear can suddenly surface. Wait, are they actually leaving? And then their system wakes up. They may text you, they may reach out, they may suddenly want to spend time with you again. But this is exactly where many people destroy the progress they just created. The moment the avoidant returns, they release everything they have been holding inside. Every emotion, every unanswered question, every conversation they have been waiting to have, all at once. And the avoidant becomes overwhelmed again. The emotional wall rises, and suddenly you are right back where you started. The goal is not to punish them for coming back. The goal is to let their return happen gradually. Receive them with warmth, but without desperation. Be happy to hear from them, without making them feel as though their return comes with an enormous emotional debt. This requires you to control your own excitement.
You may have been waiting days, weeks, or even months for that moment. Naturally, you want to say everything. But sometimes the strongest response is simply being present, kind, and calm. Do not turn their return into a major emotional event.
Because when you do, you can accidentally confirm the very fear that caused them to leave. You show them that their absence created enormous emotional pressure, and that returning means immediately being pulled into intense closeness. But when you welcome them naturally, you communicate something completely different. You show them that reconnecting with you does not have to feel dangerous. Now let's talk about the ego, because this is another part of the dynamic that people often overlook. An avoidant sense of identity can be strongly connected to independence. They may believe, I don't need anyone, I can handle everything myself, I am stronger alone. And whenever someone relentlessly pursues them, that belief gets reinforced. Their ego receives confirmation that they are wanted, valuable, and in control. Someone is chasing them. Someone needs them. They get to decide how close the relationship becomes, and when they step away, that position can feel extremely comfortable. But what happens when you stop pursuing them? What happens when you are no longer waiting around for their attention? When you are actually focused on your own growth, your friendships, your goals, your peace, and your future? Something inside their familiar pattern gets disrupted. Not because you are trying to hurt them, not because you are pretending to be unavailable, but because you have stopped giving their old story the evidence it expects. Their story may say, people either become too demanding or eventually leave. But now you are doing neither. You are simply living your life. That can be confusing to their ego because they can no longer place you neatly into the old pattern. And inside that confusion, something important can happen. There is room for curiosity. There is room for a different experience. Because underneath the defenses, many avoidant people are searching for something they struggle to trust. Evidence that emotional closeness can actually be safe. They want to know that someone will not abandon them simply because they need space. They also want to know that someone will not suffocate them when they move closer. They want connection without feeling trapped by it. When you stop chasing, stop overwhelming them, regulate your emotions, and genuinely build a fulfilling life of your own, you begin challenging their internal story through your behavior. You become living evidence that intimacy does not have to mean losing freedom. And eventually, evidence becomes harder to ignore than fear. This is what it means to challenge an avoidant ego without attacking the person behind it. You are not trying to defeat them. You are not trying to make them jealous. You are not trying to make them insecure. You are simply becoming emotionally safe while remaining fully rooted in yourself. And that distinction matters. Because underneath all the independence and emotional distance, there may still be a vulnerable part of them that learned long ago that love comes with danger. That part wants connection, but it is afraid of what connection might cost. However, there is something you must never confuse with love. You are not responsible for healing them. You are not their therapist. You should never sacrifice your emotional needs just because you understand their fears. And you should never tolerate disrespect, inconsistency, or emotional neglect while waiting for them to become available. That is where boundaries become essential. If an avoidant learns that you will accept anything they do, they have very little reason to change the pattern. If they know you will always be standing there regardless of how poorly they treat you, their withdrawal can continue indefinitely. Boundaries are not emotional punishment. They are not walls. They are simply the way self-respect becomes visible. A healthy boundary sounds like, I cannot continue in a relationship where I constantly have no idea where I stand. But saying it is only the beginning. If you continue accepting exactly the same situation for months after saying it, you did not create a boundary. You created a request that had no consequence. People pay more attention to consistent behavior than emotional promises. So if you communicate a limit, be prepared to honor it, not to punish them, not to force them into changing, but because your own standards deserve to mean something. That combination of compassion and firmness can be incredibly powerful. Many people either abandon their boundaries completely or use them as weapons. Calmly knowing what you will accept while still treating someone with kindness is something very different. Now let's talk about communication. Relationships with avoidant people often collapse because communication falls into one of two extremes. Either the anxious partner becomes emotionally intense, which overwhelms the avoidant, or they become cold and distant themselves, believing that withholding affection will somehow teach the avoidant a lesson. Neither creates genuine connection. A better approach is curiosity instead of accusation. Rather than saying, "Why do you always pull away from me?" you could say, "I've noticed you've seemed distant lately. I don't want to assume anything negative, so I just wanted to check in and see how you're doing." Feel the difference. The first statement puts them on trial. The second gives them room to respond. You are not forcing an explanation. You are opening a door. And once you open that door, let there be silence. Do not immediately send another message. Do not explain what you meant. Do not answer the question for them. Give them the opportunity to find their own words. Sometimes they will respond openly. Sometimes they will minimize what is happening. Sometimes they will avoid the conversation completely. When that happens, resist the urge to escalate. You can simply say, "Okay, I'm here when you're ready," and then mean it. Return to your own life, not as a strategy to make them chase you, but because you genuinely have a life beyond this relationship. Over time, this creates a completely different pattern: invitation, space, no emotional escalation, and a genuine return to yourself. That pattern can feel unfamiliar to an avoidant person because you are not demanding more than they can currently give, yet you are also not abandoning your own standards. And that is what can make emotional closeness feel safer. There is another painful pattern we need to understand: the constant push and pull. One moment they are affectionate and emotionally open. The next, they disappear. They tell you they care, then suddenly become distant. You experience intimacy, followed by withdrawal that seems to make no sense. This does not automatically mean they never cared. Sometimes it reflects an internal conflict between wanting connection and being frightened by what connection awakens inside them. They move closer because they genuinely want you. Then that closeness activates fear, so they retreat. Once the distance returns, they begin missing the connection again. Then they move closer, and the cycle repeats. Understanding this does not mean you should accept unhealthy behavior forever. It simply helps you stop interpreting every withdrawal as proof that something is wrong with you. When an avoidant pulls away after a deeply connected moment, the trigger may have been the emotional intensity itself, rather than something you said or did. Their withdrawal does not define your value. It reveals something about their relationship with closeness. And when you can understand that, without abandoning your own boundaries, you become someone who does not add more chaos to an already complicated emotional system. That kind of stability is rare. But remember, this is a long-term process. Self-regulation, healthy boundaries, calm communication, and building a meaningful life outside the relationship are not tricks that magically transform someone within a week. Real change takes time, consistency, and, most importantly, the avoidant person's own willingness to grow. Avoidant attachment usually does not appear overnight. For many people, it develops through years of experiences that taught them, consciously or unconsciously, that emotional closeness is dangerous. Changing that deeply rooted pattern,
or even creating enough safety for them to consciously respond differently takes time, real time. And while that process is happening, you are going to have difficult moments.
There will be days when you wonder whether anything is actually changing. There will be moments when you feel tempted to chase them again because, at least then, you felt like you were doing something. You may experience loneliness, frustration, confusion, and doubt. When those moments come, the most important place to return to is not them. It is yourself. Come back to your own healing, your own growth, your own life, and most importantly, your own answer to two questions. What do I genuinely want, and what am I no longer willing to accept? Because there is a truth underneath everything we have discussed. You cannot save someone from their avoidance. You cannot love someone into becoming emotionally ready if they have not decided to become ready themselves. You cannot be endlessly patient, perfectly regulated, completely understanding, and emotionally safe enough to force someone into personal growth they have chosen to avoid. Change only happens when a person decides to face themselves. An avoidant can open up, but ultimately, they have to choose to do the internal work that makes genuine intimacy possible. Your role is not to make that decision for them. The most you can do is create an environment where a healthier choice becomes possible. And whether they choose that path or refuse it tells you something extremely important about the future of the relationship. Yes, everything we have talked about can change the dynamic. Learning emotional regulation, maintaining healthy boundaries, communicating differently, and building a fulfilling life of your own can reduce many of the triggers that keep an avoidant stuck in withdrawal. These changes can create more room for trust, connection, and emotional intimacy to develop. But none of this comes with a guarantee, and you need to understand that before you begin. If you use all of these techniques simply to make an avoidant stay, then you have missed the deeper purpose. The goal is not to become so perfect that they finally choose you. The goal is to become someone you respect and feel proud of, whether you are in the relationship or standing completely on your own. Someone grounded, someone emotionally honest, someone who knows their value, someone capable of loving deeply without becoming desperate, someone who stays because they genuinely choose the relationship, not because they are terrified of losing it. And strangely enough, that version of you is often the person an avoidant is most likely to feel drawn toward. Not because you manipulated them, not because you created artificial scarcity, but because there is something powerful about someone who knows exactly who they are and does not abandon themselves just to keep another person close. That kind of confidence creates real attraction. Now, there is one more question that comes up again and again. Can an avoidant actually change? Can someone who has spent years avoiding emotional intimacy eventually become a loving, present, dependable partner? The honest answer is yes, some can. With genuine self-reflection, intentional effort, sometimes professional support, and a willingness to confront their own patterns, some avoidant people do develop healthier relationships. They learn to communicate more openly, tolerate intimacy, and remain present instead of automatically retreating. Attachment patterns are not permanent identities. People can change. But there is another side to this. Some avoidant people have no interest in changing. They may dismiss their behavior as simply who they are. They may refuse to examine the damage their withdrawal causes. They may blame every relationship problem on the other person while avoiding responsibility for their own patterns. Those people may remain exactly where they are for a very long time. And waiting for someone like that, hoping your love will eventually become the thing that awakens them, can become one of the most painful traps you ever experience. So stop asking yourself only, what could this person become? Ask something much more honest. Who are they right now? And then ask yourself, if nothing about this person changed,
Could I genuinely be happy living inside this relationship?
That question can tell you more than endless analysis ever will. If the answer is yes, then you have a path forward. Regulate yourself. Communicate with patience. Maintain your boundaries. Stay curious instead of accusatory. Continue building your own life. Give the process enough time to reveal whether real growth is happening. But if the answer is no, if the person they are today is already bringing you significantly more pain than peace, then honesty may be the most loving choice you can make. Because remaining in a relationship you already know is unhealthy does not automatically help the avoidant grow. Sometimes it simply keeps both people trapped. You remain caught in anxious pursuit. They remain comfortable in emotional distance. And neither of you experiences the kind of love you actually need. You deserve someone who chooses you freely, not someone you have to manipulate into staying, not someone you have to chase until you forget what it feels like to be pursued,
Not someone who only gives you pieces of themselves while you spend your life trying to earn the rest. You deserve someone who sees you, values you, wants you, and makes a conscious decision to show up. An avoidant person may absolutely be capable of becoming that partner, but they have to make that decision themselves. And your responsibility is not to make it for them. Your responsibility is to know your worth clearly enough that you refuse to spend forever waiting for someone who has not chosen you. That is the real meaning of breaking the pattern. You are not breaking them. You are not humiliating them. You are not punishing them. You are breaking the dynamic that keeps both of you trapped. You are breaking the endless cycle of chasing and retreating by refusing to continue playing the role you were assigned. You step outside the emotional drama and step back into your own life. That is where your power returns. And that is where the truth becomes impossible to ignore.
Because once you stop chasing, stop over-functioning, and stop abandoning yourself to keep the relationship alive, you finally get to see what the other person is actually willing to do. Are they choosing you? Or are they simply keeping you around until they find a comfortable way to leave? You may already know the answer. Perhaps some part of you is known for a long time. The real question is whether you are ready to trust what you already see and act according to it. And if you are here, listening, learning, and trying to understand instead of simply reacting, then maybe you are much closer to that moment than you realize. Because understanding is the beginning. But choosing yourself is where the real transformation starts.